Hello, my name is Tara Kachaturoff, and I'm the host of Michigan Entrepreneur, where we feature businesses from startup to stellar. Today we have as our special guest, Jim Cash, president of Revel Custom Wine Cellars. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, I'm really excited to have you on the program today because we're going to talk about a really unique business, the unique business of creating and designing wine cellars. But before we jump into what you do in this amazing business, and we have some pictures to show a little bit later, why don't you tell me about your background and how you got started with this business?
Okay, I have been in the commercial construction and real estate development business for the last 21 years. And when I had an opportunity, I've been a lifelong wine appreciator and collector. And so when I finally reached a point in my life when I was ready to invest in my own wine cellar, my background in real estate and construction caused me to be very meticulous about my planning. And there was a specific type of wine cellar that I had in mind, and my plan was to just go find one and buy it. And when I went to find what I was looking for, I found that there wasn't one on the market. I had the traditional wine rack before with the little cubicles with the neck sticking out, and I hated trying to find a bottle of wine a specific bottle of wine, because I'd end up pulling them out and turning them around and going through that process. It was very frustrating. So I said, I just want a drawer that has, 4 or 5 of these that I can slide out and look at. And then I said, well, if I had a drawer like that, then the bottles wouldn't have to be upside down. They could be oriented so I could read the labels, and that would really save me a lot of time. And so that's kind of how it all started, and one thing led to another, and I developed a number of different design concepts, and friends and neighbors really loved it and thought it looked really cool. And so then I went through a process of patenting the designs, and that was successful. And so now we have a number of patents, and we started selling them.
So it all came about because you had a problem and you couldn't find a solution, so now you've started a company that provides those solutions.
That's exactly right.
And that's how many entrepreneurs get started that way.
Sure.
It's a fantastic thing. Now, you said you have a patent on this, and what kind of patent is it? Because I know we've done shows with people who have created products and things that have gone through the patent process. What is specifically patentable? And we'll be taking a look at some of these, of course, later in the show today.
Sure.
What did you patent on it? Was it the design of the drawer, the pulling out? What was it? And what kind of patent was it?
There are 3 patents. One of the patents is what they call a functional patent. So that is actually a very broad patent and has to do with the way our sliding drawers are designed. There are no bottoms in them. The bottoms of the drawers are dowels. And so, as we'll see in the pictures, so a bottle rests in between 2 dowels. It doesn't lay on a flat bottom. And so that dowel bottom drawer is a functional patent, and it's actually covers any type of storage. So
fantastic.
If it would technically be an infringement on my patent if someone were to design a shelf to hold something else that was using that technique.
That's fantastic.
So that's one. The other 2 are design patents, and they are really just a design patent covers anything that looks like what we have. So we've taken this dowel bottom for our drawer concept and created a Lazy Susan that rotates, and we'll see pictures of that as well. And so we have 2 different design patents for that.
So you're all ready to go to Shark Tank, right? Because you have all the patent thing out of the way.
Well, I guess I could be, but I'm not really looking for investment right
yeah.
now. So
I know that's one of their big questions because nobody wants to be investing in something that really isn't solid and locked in. Now, going through the patent process, because many entrepreneurs will have to go through this. How long did it take you to go through the process from the beginning of identifying hey, I need to protect this particular situation and I'm not sure exactly how, to actually getting granted the patent?
The first one was the longest, and that was the functional patent, and there was a lot of back and forth, and it became the most expensive one as well. And that took, I believe, just about 2 years. The 2 design patents on the Lazy Susan happened very easily and very quickly, probably 90 days a piece. So they were easy.
And even though you didn't have the patents, fully, they were pending patents while you were still building and designing and installing these in people's homes at the time. And
actually, I waited until
wait?
I had the patent because
was that the best? I mean, is that what people should do? Just to be on the safe side?
In my situation, it's what I chose to do because the startup of the company was an investment. And if we ultimately were not going to get our patents, I wouldn't have started the business, because then my thought process was, if this is really a better mousetrap, so to speak, there are existing companies out there that could just start doing it probably more cost effective than me. And so the only way I can enter this market and succeed is to have my intellectual property protected.
Well, that was a good choice then, in terms of that, because I guess once they see it, it's out and about. And
sure.
It's out of the box.
Right.
And
we have had, by the way, some infringement issues. So the patents have stood up. A major national wine cellar company that produces a magazine came out with my Lazy Susan on the cover of it a couple of years ago.
Oh my.
Which we had to make sure that they took that back.
But what's great is now you have your case study that sets precedent, so it makes it easier for the future. So it's good to actually have those battles early on to shore it all up. So,
sure.
Yeah, that's good. Now, what's the structure?
And it validated the concept too.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Now, what's the structure of your company? How do you? What are the different functional pieces do you have going on? I mean, there's yourself. I mean, you have designers, you have installers. How does it all look in terms of the design of the company?
Well, that's another kind of unique feature about the way we have set up the business. I still have my day job in commercial real estate and construction, which I'll be retiring from that this summer, actually, and dedicating full time to this. But until I do, I have to manage it in such a way that I'm an absentee manager. So I do almost everything through contracting. We contract for our website, and we contract for our accounting and financial services. We contract for marketing, and we also contract for production. And then we have myself and a business manager that works with all these different parties to get our, and that person also does do some conceptual design for our cellars as well.
And then what kind of markets? I mean, who is your specific target market, and how are you getting the word out about your business? Because it's a very unique kind of thing, and it's not something that you're going to find on a store shelf.
Sure, sure.
But who are you targeting?
We are targeting at the early stages of the business, and we are still very young, primarily residential wine cellars in high-end homes. We have done commercial installations, and we'll continue to do that. But from our perspective, we have to kind of pick our markets and pursue them. in a more focused way. So we're starting with the residential and working with residential designers and contractors and end users. We've been fortunate. We've gotten quite a bit of publicity. We were declared by Forbes as the world's best wine cellars.
Wow, that's
And
fantastic.
So we get those kind of, and we've had a number of, Wine Spectator magazine has done an feature article on our cellars, number of others, and so that's how we get a lot of our business and referral, and then of course our clients tell their friends. But
Yeah, once they see it and they're invited over for wine and cheese, and it's like, I want one of these.
sure. And if you
Where'd
think
you get
about
it?
if you think about the people that own wine cellars are probably in the top economic categories, anybody who owns a wine cellar. And then you think about our wine cellars that are all custom and cost significantly more than a standard wine cellar. So we're at the top 10% of the top 10%, so to speak. And those are clients and customers that tend to be quite difficult to
get to.
to. And so what we've tried to do is put our name out there and get good publicity, and so that they come to us rather than we reach out to them. And so that's how we've done our business so far.
And it's so interesting as you talk to different entrepreneurs, depending on the type of product and the positioning of how they get their folks. And because you have such a high-end type of product, you have to do it a little bit differently. And
It's very different.
But once you're out there, you're out there. And you know, the word of mouth is, of course, so important to a business like yours as well. Because friends recommend things to friends, and that's so important. And rather than keep everybody in, wondering about what these cellars look like, we're going to take a look at some of the work that you've done, and we can go through these photos. We've got about a dozen or so,
Okay.
and you can tell me a couple things about each photo as we go through them. So we have one that we're looking at here. Can you tell us a little bit about this one?
There's
I love
one.
this design.
That one is located in Washington, D.C.
So you're doing business outside of Michigan.
Oh, we've sent cellars as far away as London, England.
Wow, fantastic.
Put it on a shipping container and
Oh my
send
goodness.
it across the ocean.
Oh my goodness. This is
So
lovely.
this is about a 2,000 bottle wine cellar. And this cellar here is actually on the 43rd floor of a high-rise in Chicago.
Is this in somebody's, this is
That's
somebody's
in
home?
somebody's home. That's it. He actually has a 2-story wine cellar. This is 1 story.
Now where the wine bottles are, does that rotate? Do those rotate?
Yes, in the center is the Lazy Susan that I spoke of
Okay.
earlier.
Oh, and I see the dowels. So the
And
light
so
comes
you
through.
can see how the dowels rest, and we'll have some pictures later that show that in a little more detail. But yes, this is there are Lazy Susans in the rear corners on both the left and right there as well.
Oh, I see. And
Very
those are all
unique
drawers
cellar.
that can be pulled out then?
All
Those
of
are
the
all
vertical
drawers.
elements are slide-out drawers. This is a modern design, and this is what we call a reach-in cellar rather than a walk-in cellar. A lot of people like to entertain and dine in their cellars, but wine cellar is a very uncomfortable environment. It's 55 degrees and
Right.
70% humidity. So this particular client wanted to have an entertainment area adjacent to his wine cellar and had space only for, not for both. So the cooling and the wine storage is behind those doors, and you don't actually walk in, you reach in to pull out the drawers.
I see.
You
And
could walk in, but-
Where was this? Is this a Michigan-based wine cellar, or where is this one?
This one is on Lake Michigan,
On Lake
and
Michigan.
it's a very highly acclaimed design. It's been featured in a number of magazines.
It's beautiful.
This was the very first cellar that we installed. This is in Long Island, New York. And it's a beautiful cellar. It's gotten published in a number of magazines. and it illustrates the concepts that we have. In what you can't see is in the wall that would be on this end are 2 Lazy Susans. So we try to incorporate those in all the cellars that we do. And you can also see here that our sliding drawers can accommodate individual bottles or cases.
I see. So those cases are, those all pull out?
Those are all
Those are
slide-out drawers
sliding
as
drawers.
well. So we did a lot of studying bottle geometry when we designed these, as far
Bottle
as
geometry.
how.
And here you can really see those Lazy Susans. That's neat. I love
Yes,
that.
this is
It's
actually
beautiful.
a very small cellar, but it's quite efficient. It's got quite a bit of storage in it for being so small. But yes,
What's the capacity, do you think, of this particular setup?
that one's got about 700 bottles in it.
700?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
And you can see again the dowel structure for the Lazy Susan. This is actually my cellar at home. And the Lazy Susan in the corner there was the genesis of the idea on the Lazy Susan. I had case storage on both walls, and then in the corner I found that when I laid it out on paper, I had a 32-inch hole where one bank met the other.
Right.
And so I just thought about what they do in kitchen cabinetry, and they create Lazy Susans. And so I said to the guys, let's do one of those.
Now these Lazy Susans come in different diameters?
They're all the same.
They're all the same, so how many bottles would fit around approximately?
18 bottles,
18 bottles?
per level.
Per
so
level.
they're
There's a lot. That's a lot.
It is. It's a very efficient use of space, and people
That's
love them.
tremendous. And,
And these are just close-up photos that
See the
show
dowel.
that the drawers slide out and how we can orient the bottles.
I love that.
We can make
love
the
that.
drawers deeper to have a double
Double
stacking.
deep, okay.
So if we want to get more density, that's one way we can do it.
Beautiful.
And up in the top left corner, you can see that the bottles are stored at an angle, so that's more designed for display purposes.
And where was this particular, do you remember where
This
this one is?
also is my cellar at
Oh,
my
so-
house.
oh, this is okay.
And this, again, was the beginnings of the whole thing.
It's beautiful.
We learned a lot with this one, and so we've had a lot of fun with it. This is similar to the one we just showed. Might be the very same one, actually. Again, just can see more of the detail on the dowel construction. This is a close-up of one of the shots we showed earlier of the
I like
Lazy
it. I love
Susan at
that.
the
It
at the
just-
end of a counter.
It just brings so much style to the whole
Mhm.
environment, having that round. Oops, that one's upside down.
It's not upside down.
Oh,
It's
it's not
actually
upside down? Oh, it's not
showing
upside
a
down?
very interesting feature with the dowel
Oh, you can see
construction.
it from upside down.
When the shelves go all the way to the ceiling, you can orient
Right.
the labels downwards, so
Oh,
when you
can
pull
s-
up, you can see it
still
from
see
below.
it. Oh my goodness.
That was just a side benefit we really didn't even think about, but
That is
it
unbelievable.
makes it so much easier to find and manage your collection.
That is perfect. I thought that was upside down at first, and it's not. And here we go again.
Similar, this
And
is shelves
Shelf
with the
Lazy Susan in the corner.
with the bottles at an angle again. It
And
looks
I
a
love
little
how
distorted
you're
there. but-
literally using every piece of space.
Yes.
It's just,
Yes.
it's so, I love that conservation there.
Well,
It's like-
capacity is a big issue with wine cellars, and generally you're trying to find a way to fit as many bottles as you
Right.
can into a
In that
fairly
special
small
cold room.
space. Mhm.
Well, I want to thank you so much for going through these photos with us. I mean, it's fascinating to see your patented design and the functionality that you have with those shelves. I think it's beautiful. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to share our story.
You know, and now I'd like to focus a little bit more on how you're growing this business and how, you know, what is it, where do you see this all going, you know, and how do you see it unfolding? I know you're currently, you know, working full-time and doing your commercial real estate, and that will change as you retire and move into this full-time. What kind of vision do you have for where you want to take this company?
Well, we're already global. We've shipped to, Europe and Canada, and so we're learning how to do trade internationally. My background in commercial construction has given me a great network of designers and architects that we've worked with. And so my plan is to grow the business through the design community that I know, and to also expand into the commercial side of things. I should say, we're going to do our first Michigan commercial installation in Oakland County in Rochester Hills. It's a new, very nice high-end French restaurant opening up called the Chapman House. And so we're going to be putting an installation there very soon.
Fantastic.
So there's many, many ways to go. We can also expand, I guess you would call it horizontally, by incorporating the other cellar components through either partnerships with technology companies that specialize in control systems and lighting, security, with other vendors that market the cooling units and other components of wine cellars, so we can be more full service.
Because you're focusing really on the construction of the
cabinetry alone.
Yeah, so there's
That's what we've done so far.
A lot of great opportunities for partnering, and I'm sure they're just as excited because they obviously, these folks have seen your work because they're all in the same network.
We've also talked about and been asked to consider wine acquisition for our clients. When they have a brand new wine cellar, they've come to us and said, "Can you help me? What should I buy? What's collectible? What will appreciate in value? What will improve with age in the cellar?" So.
And what's so amazing is because that's your natural background.
That's what I love.
I know. It's like it doesn't get any better than this. You created a whole like a lifestyle business. I mean,
out of my passion. So.
Out of your passion, and you know. To me, that is such an exciting way to go into being an entrepreneur, because it's just a natural unfolding of who you are as a person.
Sure.
Did you ever? I know because you have your own company in the real estate commercial end of things. Did you ever see yourself creating a business like this? I mean, I know you already are an entrepreneur, but did you ever think that this would go this way, or did you ever have dreams of doing something like this in your life?
I have, ever since I was a kid.
Really?
I've come up with these ideas and said to myself, I really should do something with this. And so there's a couple more ideas up there in my head that I'm mulling. Yeah.
Are they in the same space or a different space, a different niche?
They're different.
You'll have to definitely get in touch with me
okay.
again when the next one comes out. Now,
right.
In terms of some of the things, and I know this probably isn't the place to be sharing those ideas, but do you have some other ideas and things that you, design-wise, that you may be bringing to what you're already doing that are in your head in terms of new constructions and new geometries that you might be using in this cabinetry going forward?
I do. And one of the things that I want Revel to be is an innovator. We were, of course, formed out of an innovation, but we want to continue to develop new products. And when we came up with this particular design and using a high-quality mahogany, naturally finished wood, we didn't really know. We thought one of our biggest challenges would be that people wouldn't like the look of it. I mean, they were designed to function in a certain way, and so it was a functional approach rather than an aesthetic that we were designing around. So now that we have them, what we're hearing from our client base is, could you do something that has the same function that has maybe a more modern look, maybe with steel and or acrylic materials, things like that, to fit into, you know, my, say, contemporary home.
Right. So there's definitely some innovation going on.
We're working on one right now with steel dowels instead of wood,
and
that's going to have a very different look, very streamlined, very smooth. So there's a lot of different ways to go with it.
Well, Jim, I think your whole story of how you started this business and what you've created and the internationalizing of it all is really fascinating. And I'm so happy that I was able to talk to you about this business and the fact that you're kind of doing it part-time in between things by outsourcing everything, which is amazing. But it's so neat to have this amazing example of taking your passion and turning it into something more to share with other people literally around the world. And my last question to you is, what's your advice to entrepreneurs? Because you've been living this lifestyle and you've done it and made it work and are continuing on that journey of yours, but what's your advice to entrepreneurs?
Well, I'm not sure that the way that we did it is the way that it should be done, but I do think it's safe to assume that everything that you want to do is going to be more challenging than you thought it might be.
Right.
There are things to running a business, especially a small business, that the owner has to do. Payroll and things like that, when we work in a company, we have people that do that. And then when you're all by yourself, you have to wear a lot of different hats. And so that's quite challenging.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story of Revel Custom Wine Cellars, and I wish you very well as your business continues to grow and expand and, of course, serving the needs of your clientele around the world. Thanks so much for sharing the story.
Okay, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
If you'd like more information about our program, please visit us at www.michiganentrepreneurtv.com. Please join me again in the future when I interview another enterprising entrepreneur. Until then, wishing you the best of business.